Well, I don't fancy being in a position to throw cold water on somebody's optimism. But
I told you about my mother's optimism. Yeah.
But I'm not sure about concepts, and I'm not sure about ideas. And I don't think we've ever actually been had a poverty in ideas. As far as I know, all kinds of ideas. I mean, ever since, in my own experience, for the last 30 years, I think, we've been discussing ideas. There have been all kinds of different versions, ways of looking at things. The expression flogging a dead horse. I think the peace solution of any kind between Israelis and Palestinians has been really flogged like a dead horse in an ongoing way. And I think in any case, at some point I decided, I'm not sure if I'm right, that if you put ideas on one hand and you look at history on another, you will find very often that history runs much faster than ideas, and ideas run after history. And if you look at our situation in the Israel, Palestine, West Bank, we are trying to catch up basically all the time with what is taking place, unfolding before us in real terms. And so far we have not succeeded. And we have not succeeded because the few that are on both sides that Avraham was talking about earlier are not up to the challenge or the opposition of the many on both sides, who are in fact steering, guiding the unfolding of history. And I don't want you to think that I'm necessarily sort of convinced of this, but I'm more and more convinced of the fact that it seems as though that history is just running forward, unfolding in such a way that we will not have either a trauma or a solution, but that Israel will, along the way, simply wither away as a Zionist project by itself. Not because of us, but in spite of us, the Palestinians. And not because this is what the ideology is of the Zionists, but because of how history has been weaved or has been worked by Israeli leaders. And maybe it's not going to be a trauma, as I say, and it's not going to be necessarily a situation where suddenly there is a transformation from one situation or phase into another, an unhappy into a happy phase. I don't think it will happen like that. It will simply be a dreary, painful, drawn out, and by dreary, painful, and drawn out, I don't necessarily mean even bloody. I was saying just before, starting this, that what is worse than things, than saying things are getting worse and worse. What is worse than saying things are getting worse and worse is that they do not get worse and worse, just that they go on and on. Going on and on is far worse than anything that is worse and worse. Because getting worse and worse, you expect a trauma. You expect an end. You expect something to happen. But in our case, it seems we have not succeeded, and we have to face this. We have not succeeded to, in fact, take the bull by the horns, so to speak, and deal with the issues. And And, you know, whether it's the political leaders or it's the academics or it's whoever it is, you know, on both sides, we have just failed, and I think we have to say it. We failed on both sides. And what's happening is that things are going along in this direction, and we just have to try and make the best of it in the meantime, on both sides. I'm not sure how. Now, having said this, I am personally, you know, here I'm willing to sign now any solution that Avraham or anybody comes out with, whether this book or this, without having read them. I'm willing now to sign any peace agreement. And I'm sure, you know, that as I say this, any Palestinian is prepared to do the same. Because, you know, I am personally fed up with solutions, really. Not fed up, I'm bored with thinking about solutions. I really am. And I think we all are. And I think that what is needed is not further conceptual exercises, because maybe I'm not being nice in saying this, but and really as an academic I shouldn't be saying this, because, you know, our bread and butter is concepts, but this is our life, you know. It's not an academic issue. And when I think about life, you know, I don't like to, you know, concepts are like states, if you like, what I said about them earlier. If they serve me well, they are fine, but otherwise, they're useless. What are concepts for? You know, they're useless. Reality must be, and unfortunately, the reality that is not, however, just one last thing before I leave you thinking in a very pessimistic note. I think a two-state solution of whatever kind, logically, mathematically, if you like, geometrically, demographically, you know, you name it, whether in a confederal, a federal, whatever kind of system is possible. I can give you, you know, 100 scenarios of ways in which we can still do this mathematically, demographically, in any way, shape, or form. It's all possible. But all of that means nothing if politically we are somewhere else. And politically, if I look at the scene, if I look at the landscape, I think we're somewhere else. Not just back home, Israel and the Palestinians, but the world at large. I mean, the world at large also is, I mean, basically has left us to just bang each other. And the Palestinians and the Israelis have each gone in a different direction. I don't see any end of this soon. So I think what is necessary to do is just to maintain our ability to be sane for as long as possible with each other. It's not an optimistic tone.
That was not the summary of what Avraham said, but I would like,
in an indirect way.
I would like to sum up this evening with something again that you said, that you wrote in the essay for our catalog, and that is a very simple sentence: I prefer to be happy. I would also recommend that to you, and I hope that we all meet again tomorrow with two eminent Israeli writers, Yerushalayim and Eyal Meged, who are both living in Jerusalem and are both in their books trying also to do something, and that is to write about normal life, even in Jerusalem, even if at least one of this couple, I have to say, is also engaging in all kinds of concepts and ideas and talks. And maybe there's one aspect of concept, and that is, as long as you're talking about a concept, it's better than a few other alternatives. Thank you very much for your attention. What are people saying? You're a great audience. No.
Very silent one.
A very silent one. I think that is sometimes a sign of that you really produce some food for thought on this stage, which is also making people silent, even me. And yeah, I just hope you have a nice way home, and we'll meet together tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
And then we will take you for dinner. Then we'll take you for dinner. But first have your cigarette. I will explain. I have to explain.